Assalamu alaikum, my name is Ali Abed, I'm from class A2 and I'd like to welcome you all to the first episode of the Roots Alumni Podcast. The purpose of this podcast is for us as students to derive guidance and inspiration from other alumni. As we all know, over the year, alumni from Roots have been accepted into top Ivy League colleges, universities, have excelled in their professional lives, and they act as an inspiration for all of us. So here in this series, we expect to derive some guidance from them as to how we can prosper in our professional lives. Joining me today is my co-host.
Hello, my name is Shanu Khan. I'm from A2 and right now on call we have our first alumni of the series, Isra Shabir. Right now she graduated from MIT and she's working in Girls Make Games. So let's get on call with her.
Hi. Hi, my name is Roots Ivy. I am the current director of programs at Girls Make Games. We teach game development to girls all around the world and bring the joy of game development either from their homes or at one of our locations and camps. Previously, I worked as a software engineer creating different products in the US, and I went to MIT and studied computer science there. Before that, I was an A-level student at Roots.
Yay! Okay.
All right.
Okay, now we're doing this all over
so
again.
funny.
So tell us a little about the scholarship program you started for Girls Get Games, and I'm genuinely curious about this. I didn't ask you before either. Was it difficult getting donors for that? Donors to contribute to the scholarship? Because I understand it's gonna be a really huge amount, and you said you went to companies like PlayStation. So how was it convincing them, or how was the process of that? I'm kind of curious about that too.
Yeah, so like I said, that Girls Make Games, the organization the initiative has been around since 2014. So that already, garnered us the recognition that this is something that we are passionate about, and we are doing this, primarily to get girls into games. And so we had over time, obviously, a lot of relationships and partnerships with some of these amazing companies and people there who are interested in the same initiative. So, it's people at the end of the day, right? We care about different causes. So obviously, most of our camps within Girls Make Games, they happened at the campuses or the game development studios. So we used to have a camp at PlayStation. We used to have a camp at Nintendo. We used to have a camp at Xbox. And that's where, they were part of the journey as well. So when we started this scholarship fund, it was a natural build-up on the same journey, which is yes, it only makes sense to support all these young kids who would want to do the same thing, but not necessarily have the means to do it. So it wasn't something that was out of the blue. It was more yes, we believe in this work. We believe in getting more girls, and let's see what are the different problems we can solve. One of them is financial barriers, for example. So, yeah.
That's so cute. Okay. Now, I think we can go back to the MIT prep for this one.
The application process.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No. We'll just go back to the application
We'll go
process.
back to the MIT one as well. So how did you know it was MIT that was the main university that you wanted to apply to? That was the uni for you. How was it deciding that? Because there are so many pool of universities out there, and everybody's ye is better and ye is better. And how was it weighing the pros and cons out for you?
Yeah, so I was lucky that I had a sister. I have a sister who actually went to MIT as well, and she is 4 years older than me. So technically, when I was starting my applications journey, she was actually towards the end of her journey at MIT. So you can imagine I got 4 years of her experiences, in a sense, she shared everything that she did there and what she learned about the university. So I think that was an insider experience that not everyone may have. So for me, that was a really high privilege moment. But besides that, my own search, when I learned more about universities in general, what really spoke to me about MIT was its equalizing factor. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, who you're, which society, parents, all of that doesn't matter. They are very much our motto was mens et menis, which means like mind and hand, and literally they live by it. So they throw you into this like fire of work starting from day one. And so everyone kind of tends to forget like what, I might have or where I come from and things like that. And I personally, being someone who doesn't come from a family of people who went to college, being first generation college student, really, benefited from that, because then it didn't matter like, if someone has professors as their parents or like has been in that academic environment growing up, whereas someone like me was, more chill, more relaxed, didn't have much of that. So that's kind of what really pulled me towards MIT. And then I think in general, because of the engineering, focus, I personally had an inclination for engineering, but also knowing like how engineers kind of solve problems and create new things. All of that really pulled me towards that experience within MIT itself. And I was like, okay, I really want to go here. Yeah.
Okay, I have another question after this. I'm very curious to know, was there ever some sort of, comparison, a competition or rivalry between the two of you, your sister and you, yourself?
Of course, that's only natural. Have you ever heard sisters that only get along? No, exactly. Yeah, so it was always there. I've had her as an older sister who's not just a year apart, who's like 4 years apart. So you can imagine, like, there's so many things that she did over time that I kind of always felt like, am I filling in the right shoes? Like, are these shoes too big to fill? Yeah, so there was always the rivalry. But I think eventually, we became friends, and we were, more about like learning from each other, or at least I was learning a lot from her. And then over time, I think that became a really good dynamic, a really good relationship. So even though we fight, but then we also, learn and grow together and do things that enrich our lives, and thankfully now help enrich other people's lives as well.
You having that supportive back behind you that, oh my god, I can always rely on her when I have any queries. Yes. And you have somebody to look up towards. Now I'm very curious to know, where else did you apply to? Where else did you apply to, and what university did you end up getting accepted to? Curious.
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. So I don't remember the full list, because honestly at that time it was a long list. And for me, I applied to some of the top colleges, but then I also balanced it with here's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, maybe even a tier 4 actually, because you never know where you land. So I applied to some of the top colleges, which included, Yale, Stanford, MIT, the mid-tier ones like Middlebury College, I don't know, and some of the even lower tier ones. Oh my gosh, there was this one university I applied to in Ohio. It was called Ohio Wesleyan, I think. And then, so broad range of colleges really. And my goal was just I want to go somewhere that can offer me a scholarship. That's all that matters. I'll aim for the stars, but let me land somewhere. And I got into MIT, Brown, Georgetown, and I was selected for the NYU AD final round, but somehow I did not get in eventually. I just remembered that it wasn't the admission. It's such a long time ago. And that's when I kind of realized that, it really doesn't matter where you're going, as long as you have some opportunity and you can make use of it.
Yeah.
So you got accepted into MIT. Hum bhi honge ek din, inshallah. So tell us a little bit about the transition from your school life to MIT. How was it moving away from that, home environment, a comfort bubble, towards a completely, alien environment at MIT?
Yeah, I think again, I was lucky in some sense, because I had a sister who was there. She was not in Boston, but she was at least in the US. She was in New York, not too far away. So I think I got a bit of home away from home because of that. But I think it is a big transition in some sense. Like, for example, you're not used to doing your laundry every single day. And as a result of that, I only did my laundry like every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and that is something that you don't even think about when you're at home. And then, having to budget your like living expenses, making sure that you are on time in school. You're not just going to school to learn, you're actually managing your life. So for the first time, you kind of experience like what it's like to be an adult without really being an adult. So definitely it was challenging, but then I think when, some time passes, like 6-7 months pass, you kind of get your own rhythm. You understand what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And then some of it is pleasant, some of it is not pleasant, but then you always look on the bright side and you keep moving forward. So, yes.
Experience at like Roots, like, home, the environment. We loved Mamandam, we talked about all of that. How did your experience at Roots help you adjust to MIT? Like, were there any similarities? Was it like completely like disparate? Like, was it different at? Yeah.
I think the environment where we were allowed to, do different things and experiment and learn outside of the classroom definitely got carried into that early experience at a college, because that is where you really find out that, you're not going to be given this like syllabus that you follow. You have to kind of make your own path. So when you kind of have that experience of figuring that kind of stuff out early on, like let's say we were allowed to do at Roots, like what kind of things we want to do, what do we want to study. It wasn't like, hey, you have to take these 3 A-level courses and that's it, right? So that experience of flexibility and experimentation and exploration really helped with forging that new path when we were in college. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that leaving your social life behind, that can be like a bittersweet moment, like having to spend like 2 of your last years of high school in like Pakistan and then going abroad and starting from like zero. How was that like? How was it like letting go and like keeping in touch with your friends, because you don't want to really lose that bond either you have in your levels. So like, how was that experience for you?
That was a tough one. That was honestly a tough one, because I think you, when you are in school, you're also more when you're in high school. When you're in high school, you're also a little bit more naive and a little bit more relaxed. But when you get to college, you suddenly have to kind of step into that serious zone. And so it's like you make these friendships and they're really amazing, but at the same time, everyone is focused on like, what are they going to do after college and how are they going to make a career? That's not the kind of stuff that we focus on when we're in school. So the friendships are definitely different. So that was challenging for me personally, and all my friends kind of like scattered around the world at that point. So it was like, oh, how do we keep in touch? We used to do a lot of like Skype calls. We didn't have Zoom at that time. So we used to, not even WhatsApp, forget about WhatsApp. Actually, I didn't even have a smartphone. Yeah, I had a flip phone at that time.
That's so cool.
So we used to call on Skype and keep in touch and things like that. But I think you're also very excited about a different life and like what you can do with it. So I think that excitement keeps you going. And obviously, like, every university has so much to offer and so much to learn and so much to grow from. So then you grow with it, you kind of become a part of that. And that's how humans are. We like always evolve, we develop. So I think the friendships and everything were, they were helpful. They helped us like kind of move forward. But then, all these other things that come along, you learn from it and then keep growing.
Right.
Yeah.
What about like the culture differences? Because like I understand like coming here from like UAE and then going to US, like that must have been like really like
A completely
polar
different environment.
opposite like norms, full of stereotypes. How was it like adjusting to that? Because I've heard like you have societies in college which help you adjust to that, but like is that really a myth or yeah?
Like, you mean like having these different experiences and then having a completely different experience?
Yeah.
There are clubs and associations that you kind of, like people that you start to vibe with more. I'm using a very Gen Z word. Yeah, I think that definitely helps you. Like I became part of the Muslim Students Association. I used to go to a lot of events with the Paksmith, like Pakistanis at MIT, and then obviously like a lot of other like activities. Like I like sports, so I would play badminton sometimes, squash sometimes, and those are like the activities that kind of bond you with the other people. So eventually it's all just people, right? Like you put people on in Antarctica and you give them the environment, they'll thrive and survive and grow. So yes, it's different, but at the same time, it's it's something that you just get used to, like really get used to. And then, like I said, you have so much excitement for that new stuff that you really pull all of that and you become a part of it.
And I like think that the like studying in Roots like since बचपन literally बचपन से लेके अभी तक Roots like gives you such a diverse experience. Like you know how to adapt, you know how to interact with people, and I feel like we turned up pretty well because of that. They teach you very good values, and you know how to adjust in your social life. So I feel like that is a very big factor out of all of them.
100%. I'm sorry if I missed that part. I might have missed it in the question, like, if we were connecting it to Roots. But yes, I completely agree that it was the, like the idea of like talking to all these amazing kids who came from so many places and the teachers giving you that room to grow from that experience that definitely helped bridge it at university as well.
Are you still in touch with, your class fellows or professors from MIT or people you met during that time?
I'm so sorry. So when you start asking the question, the beginning part always is dull and then the sound comes. So I miss the first part always. I think it's a transmission issue. Sorry.
Are you still in touch with your class fellows and professors you met when in MIT?
Yes, I am. I just had a 10th reunion. I'm class of 2014. At MIT, so I just had my 10th reunion in May, and I went and saw a lot of my classmates, who I hadn't seen in a long time actually. And yeah, I even got an opportunity to talk about Girls Night Games there, so that was really amazing. Like sharing it with your classmates 10 years out, what have I been up to, kind of thing. So that was really awesome. Professors, not so much anymore. Unless we need the recommendation or something. But if I were to go back, I would definitely pay them a visit.
Right. So, okay, now that you've graduated, you've completed your degree, you're all grown up. What's next in your professional life?
Because university does make you prone to your professional life a little bit, like doing research projects and doing internships. How is that experience for you, and how is your post-grad experience? Because, like, let's be real, visa ka masla hota hai, seedha job na lage. They're like, please leave the country. So, what scene uska?
So, what was my experience back then, or like? Okay, it was hard. It was definitely hard. I don't know how much you guys know about the settling in US part, but it's a lot of like you have to apply for jobs that sponsor you and things like that. So it was not an easy process. I think I was in the mindset that if this doesn't work out, then I'll try something else. Maybe go to Canada, maybe go to Portugal, go to Dubai. I don't know. The world is your oyster. So I think it was always about like just figuring out what will work, and then seeing if it doesn't work, then what else can you do. But thankfully, alhamdulillah, it did work out, and I ended up transitioning well and doing my jobs and things that I do find interesting, as opposed to only be in that position where I have to do something just to stay in the country.
Did you work anywhere else before Girls Make Games?
Where else did I work before Girls Make Games?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I worked at two different companies. Both were more of, I would say, consumer and business tech. So one was a company that actually allowed people to call the emergency helpline using your app, instead of like calling through phone, which might have spotty communication lines and things like that. We developed a technology that actually just with the press of a button would call an ambulance to your house. So for old people, that was really helpful. That was called Rapid SOS. And then second company that I worked for was a cybersecurity company. So it was, all these big businesses, they do a lot of transactions and sending money and whatnot with each other. They have a lot of relationships. How to best secure that online communication and transactions. So it was really about like figuring out what kind of cyber attacks exist and how to kind of like, profile it for each company. Like how safe is Roots network? So that, I can send it, I don't know, like $1 million. Just giving you an example. But that was what it was mainly doing. It's called BitSite. It was, I don't know if you've heard of something called a credit score, a person's credit score, which is basically like how good is your debt history, your credit history. Whereas like something like what BitSite was doing is figuring out how good is the security rating or security history of a company. So it was technical stuff, and I was a software engineer at Go.
Yeah, so like those were like way more narrow and more specific in your previous job, and right now you probably have like more creative freedom in Girls Make Games, and like they're able to actually do what you want because experience ले लिया अब करना है जो
yeah, pretty much. I think like because I was a computer science grad, so like when you're young, you kind of think that, oh, now I know how to program, let me start looking for all these programming opportunities. But then when you go in there and you're just like, oh my God, like I don't know if I can program for 8 hours a day. Like that's just something that might be really, really amazing for one of my co-developers, but not necessarily something that fuels my soul. So that's how I kind of figured out that, no, this is not necessarily the only thing that I want to do. I want to learn more, and I was lucky that I had this other opportunity as well.
Yeah, that's so perfect.
Yeah, you've had this like a whole journey from Roots to MIT to switching between jobs, Girls Make Games, and have had a whole journey. You must have faced challenges and you must have struggled at some point. What's one piece of advice you'd like to give to those watching the podcast, or to me and Shanur, because we really need it?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I really think, like when we are younger, we're always about like chasing the shiny up, like, hey, here's the dream award that I'm gonna get, or here's the platform that I will reach, or I might get into MIT or something else. But I really think like if someone wants to have more contentment and wants to grow, they should really focus on whatever they're doing, learn it really well, and more or less like try to find out like what is it that you can add to it, instead of just like, hey, I learned this thing, okay, now next, and this is something that I struggled with, like I was always about like chasing the milestones, like, okay, I got this degree, now I gotta get a really good job, and I need to be on this magazine, and then etc., etc. Like you see all these examples out there and you get enamored by all of that, but truly if you want to have like long lasting fulfilling experiences, it's like what you're learning, what you're doing, attach yourself to it, and then try to grow that in some sense, not just keep it to yourself, but like add value to it and include other people in that. So that is my bigger advice, especially because now we live in this age of like social media and everyone is kind of like watching each other all the time. And that's not the healthiest mindset to be in, like, hey, that person got that, maybe I should go get that too. No, do you really want to get that? Like, is this something that drives you? That should be your constant question to yourself, and be secure in that instead of like, I need validation from other people to feel like I'm good,
Yeah, so wrapping up our Q&A session, is there anything you would like to say to yourself when you were in A-levels, and anything you would like to maybe say to your friends or your teachers back in the day? Like, let's end it on a
Back
good
in the
note.
day?
Yeah.
Something I didn't say or something I didn't do, is that okay? I think at that time, yeah. So like I said, like we were all very, very like young, and we were all very excited about all the 100 things that we wanted to accomplish and do in life. But I think what we have to remind each other that it's really the people that you connect with, and the moments that you have in those times that will stay with you forever. And so, if let's say anyone is too high strung on, like, hey, they want this one thing and they only want that thing, they might be missing out on a lot of other stuff around them. So, like, if I was that person, I would have definitely wanted to tell myself not to do that. And if I had any friend, I would have told them the same thing. But beyond that, like, generally, I think even at that time, I would have liked to say to everyone that I'm so glad that we met, and then I hope that, no matter where we go and how we've changed over the course of our life, we stay connected and we're able to share, based on those connections that we made in high school. And I'm lucky to have that, honestly. Like, I have some friends that I'm actually doing a little bit of social work with in Pakistan. So one of my friends, Darish, which Mamanjum and maybe Manrana even knows, she started the school called Fariza School in Rawalpindi, close to the DHA campus. And we're helping, the kids of that community go to school. These are kids that are from like Jugis, small, like very, very low income background. So now that it's been so long, we're able to do that together. I don't think we dreamed of that when we were that young, but that would be something I would tell everyone, hey, let's do something together in 15 years. So yeah, and to my teachers, I think there's always gratitude, to our mentors. If we didn't say it back then, I 100% recommend myself, and I tell you all that you should definitely thank your teachers for all the work and all the dedication and passion they're sharing with you. When you look back, it will feel like it was yesterday, but then you'll realize how far you've come and how big a role that they have played in that journey as well. So you do want to keep thanking them while you're there.
Right. It has, been a wonderful experience here tonight questioning you, and we just like to tell you that you have acted as an inspiration for God knows how many people, not just us, not just the students who are going to view this, even those you've helped with your scholarship programs, with the Girls Make Games program. So we're just really thankful for your time, grateful to have you tonight here, and just learn from your experience and your journey. So just thank you for being here.
I love that we're ending this on a positive note. It couldn't have been more perfect having you, Isra. Thank you so much for taking your time. I'm pretty sure it's like really early for you.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. And if you guys ever need to connect with me or anyone else, within my reach, like let's say my class, please let me know. I'm happy to make any intros. And yeah, if there's anything else that I can help with, always just ask Ma'am Anjum. She knows my email. So yeah, really, really happy to see you guys, and I hope you guys, get really good offers in April. April is when all the yes, okay. So yeah, good luck to that. But more than that, it's only 5 months from now that you're ending your A-levels in your high school, and you're gonna remember it, miss it a lot. So make sure that you don't just focus on the A-level exams. Just go and make those memories that you want to.
Thank you so much. I think
glad to meet you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was Isra. I hope you all enjoyed the first episode. ज़रूर अपना feedback हमें दीजिएगा on things we can improve. If there are any suggestions or ideas we can use to improve the podcast for the better. And that's it for the first episode today, guys.
Guys, I hope you had as much fun as we did, because certainly we did.
We did.
Yeah, that's that, guys. Allah Hafiz.
Stay tuned for future episodes.
Sorry?